It's not 5 o'clock, and they don't care. Welcome to Wine to 5. Entertainment, education, and everyday drinking for everyday people. Your hosts are Valerie Caruso and Stephanie Davis, two wine educators who don't need a clock to know when to pour that next glass.
Hey there, this is Steph, and if it's your first time listening, thanks for joining us. If you're coming back for another round, we're so happy that you're here. Across from me via Skype is my podcasting partner in crime, Val.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Steph. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great, lady.
You know, Steph and I, we create and produce this show for your enjoyment, education, and most importantly, entertainment. But let's not forget consumer empowerment. I'm raising my fist here. Power to the Pinot. So
Fist bumps.
Fist bumps, I know. But we're not talking about Pinot today. We're talking about Negroamaro. So I think, Steph, you've got one with a number on the bottle, and so do I. So I think let's talk about yours first.
Oh, I love when that happens.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, because we do think a lot alike. Like sometimes, even when we were on the phone yesterday, you're like, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, this bottle that I've got is called Numero Zero, and it is by Menier Salento. It's a 2012 IGP Salento, totally affordable at $12. And it's made from estate-grown Negroamaro grapes. It is very dark in color. And when I first put my nose into the glass, I thought, wow, vanilla. And then it went into this crazy oregano, like really cool. And eventually I started to get some kind of beef jerky situation. And I'm really liking this $12 wine. I can't believe it. What are you drinking?
You know, it's funny because when you said oregano, that's one of the things I love about Italian wine is that herbal quality, that savoriness, you know, oregano or thyme. I always get like thyme. And just as I put my nose in the glass, because it would be nice if I talked a little bit about what was in my glass, I said, oh, like meat. And then you said like, what, jerky?
Beef jerky.
Yeah, that's so funny. Mine's like a teriyaki jerky thing going on here. So that's so funny because in my glass, I have the Dolce Mezzo. So it's got the number 12 on it, and it has the words A, the letter E, and Mezzo, M-E-Z-Z-O, which means 12 and a half. And I can only suspect that that means the alcohol content. This is a Negroamaro del Salento. This is also an IGP product from Vervaglione. I love this wine. I actually went back and bought more of it. But it's kind of like my house wine right now.
Oh.
Yeah, I really like it. Now, this is more like it's a $14 bottle or so, but it is that dark black ripe fruit. And we're going to talk about why that is in a minute. I don't get a lot of bitterness despite what Negroamaro means, and we'll talk about that too. But I do get those like teriyaki, jerky-ish or meat or in the herbal thing going on, which is one of the things like I said, I love about Italian wine. So this is from Salento as well, that demarcated region in Puglia. And of course, Puglia being one of the 21 wine producing regions in Italy.
For anybody who's going, I still don't know what Negroamaro is. It is a dark, thick-skinned red Italian grape with blackish violet skin, and that's why it's so dark in our glasses. And it's capable of producing high alcohol wines, and often the wines have medium to high tannins. And you know, we've mentioned it before on the show, but if you're a new listener, these deep colored red wines means that it's also rich in polyphenols and anthocyanins. And this is really considered one of those ancient grapes or ancient vines from Italy. It is vigorous, adaptable, and drought resistant. And it's really a badass. You know, it's mildew resistant, later ripening. There are earlier ripening versions, and that has been documented since the mid-1990s, called Negroamaro Precoce. And that particular clone is said to ripen nearly 3 weeks earlier, that's significant.
Yeah, it is. And I was reading a little bit about that today because, most grapes, I always say gropes. Most grapes do have other clones, and they do tend to mutate in the field and what have you. But, going back to talking about the thick skins and the color, and I was just looking at my wine, and it is opaque. I mean, you cannot see through it. If you were to hold your glass on an angle, like on a 45-degree angle over a piece of paper, you're not going to be able to see through the bottle that I have right here. And so that's one of the things I like. It's kind of a chewy wine, but I don't think the tannins are overly aggressive, even though thick skins generally means lots of tannins. But these wines are generally drinkable young. When you see a Negroamaro, and often it's blended with the other Pugliese grapes. But Negroamaro, as we alluded to earlier, means black bitter. And I always joke about like my soul, but that's the Italian rough translation here. But there is a possibility that it might mean black from the Latin word nigra and the Greek word Mavro. Synonyms include Albese, Negroamaro, which also means black bitter, Abruzzese, Ionico, Uva cane, which translates to dog grape, Uva olivella, Lacrima, which translates to tear, as in I'm crying tears of joy right now to have this wine in front of me, Nero Leccese, Negroamaro, Mangiaverde, plus many others. Now, Mangiaverde translates to eat green.
Yeah, I don't know where these things come from, but
that's funny, like eat grass. I don't know. But if you think about it, if something you're going to eat green and young, it's probably going to have a little bitterness to it. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I think the interesting thing is where these grapes often get their names. But we also mentioned that Negroamaro's home is Italy, but it's worth noting that the grape's origins are uncertain. But as with many grapes, probably came from Greece to Italy in the 6th to 8th century, depending on your source. Now, Negroamaro is one of those star grapes in Puglia or Apulia, depending on what language you're using. And it is sunny, it is dry, it is flat out there in southern Italy, but there are some mountainous areas of Puglia as well. But this particular grape is again with the grapes. This particular grape is grown in small amounts in Australia and California as well, places like Temecula, which I absolutely love, and Mendocino County. But back to the boot. Puglia's Salento Peninsula works wonders for the Negroamaro because the grapes soak up sunshine and they benefit from the cooling winds from the surrounding Ionian and Adriatic seas. Of course, it sounds pretty nice. I personally have not been there, Steph. Have you?
No.
I know. It's
Tragic.
One of those places, I'm dying to go there. It looks so beautiful. But Negroamaro, the grape, is blended into countless regional DOC and IGP wines like we have in front of us. So you really don't want us to read the entire list to you because then you'd be clicking us off if you haven't already. It is most known for its contribution to the Salice Salentino, the DOC that was established back in 1976. So what does it do in the glass, Steph, besides jerky?
Yeah, well, I think some of our descriptions of what we're drinking is very characteristic and typical. I mean, usually there's some earthy personality and juicy characteristics. It expresses itself with dark berries, tobacco, the herbal stuff that we mentioned earlier, spices like black pepper. And it's so dependent on the style and the age of the wine. I mean, if it's a Reserva and if it's old and cool and burly, that can be so different than, let's say, some of the rosés or sparkling examples. And so and when it's blended, which it often is, that really changes the experience too. The high alcohol and bitterness and earthiness can be blended down. So then you have, something that's very different and might not be like, well, that's not what they said. I mean, you might still have the same dark color, but like, for example, one of its blending buddies is Malvasia, and that is a grape that has really beautiful perfume type aromatics. So it's a nice thing to put together. They're like little friends, making nice little blend friends. But the wine that I have is inexpensive, and Val said hers was maybe around $14. You can find some that are even under $10, but what about the $90 Negroamaros? They're out there too. So they're not all created equal.
I honestly say I don't believe I've ever seen one of those, but I did find a sweet factoid about pink wine from the Black Bitter. According to vinpuglia.com, it was the Negroamaro that produced the first rosé, or rosato, as they call them in Italy, bottled in Italy back in 1943.
I saw that too on something, and I was like, I was really impressed by that. And then I was like, I wonder if that's for real. And I'm glad that you found it too, and probably on a different site, because I thought that was pretty phenomenal.
You know, I'd heard something about it before, that's where the first rosato was produced. But again, it's hard to tell. I mean, the fact that they know this, I mean, that it was actually bottled. I'm not going to say produced. So,
oh yeah, right, bottled.
Right. And that's the thing about the wine world. In 1943, I'm like, is it possible that they have had other rosés before that and we just didn't know about it? But as far as documented bottling, that is on vinipuglia.com. But I thought it was an interesting little thing to throw out there. So I would try it. I would try a Negroamaro rosé because I don't believe I've had one. I've had other rosatos from Italy, but I don't believe I've had a Negroamaro.
And you know what? I'd love to try a $90 one, because you know where I saw them? I saw some expensive bottles on a Wine Enthusiast magazine website. Did a review of a bunch of Negroamaros, and one of them was a $90 bottle.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, that's the big gun right there.
Right? I would try it. And something else we're going to try is our new segment called Tasty Tales. It's just something to mix it up just a little bit. We asked listeners for stories for our Grape Gab, and we had 2 ladies from Italy submit stories. So it's story time, boys and girls. And the first one is by Sue Guerra of Via del Vino Tours. And I think, Steph, you met her back in October of 16, I think it was.
That's right.
Yep, and you connected with Sue through our guest, Jeremy Parzan, who was a guest back in episode 68. So what is Sue's Negroamaro story?
Well, I love this because Val and I were just saying that we've never spent any time down in Puglia, so we've got stories of people who have. And here's Sue's story that I'm going to read for you. My Negroamaro experience took place at the source, so to speak, specifically the Salento, which could be considered the motherland of this grape. I was escorting a group of Americans on a tour of Puglia, a special region for me given that my grandfather was from there. The story is really about drinking this wine at the source and enjoying a true Puglian experience. With the group, we spent the day in Lecce, a city that many travel writers call the Florence of the South due to its abundance of Baroque architecture. We toured the city, visited a local papier-mâché atelier, a special art there, and did a cooking and mozzarella making class at a local cooking school, preparing our own lunch and then later our own dinner. It was one of those fabulous, perfect weather days with so much going on and so much fun that I really wasn't that focused on the wines we were sipping for lunch or dinner, though I did take a photo of each bottle, which is something I only do when I notice the quality and want to later research the wines. For lunch, we drank a Negroamaro-based rosé called Rosso del Golfo Salento Rosado, 2015, and it was 90% Negroamaro and 10% Malvasia Leccese, which I later found out had received high praise on Vinous.com's yearly roundup of top Italian rosés. The real magic of the day, however, was our dinner. We ate in the back garden area of the cooking school, feasting on what we had prepared in our class while being treated to a pizzica dance performed for us by locals. The pizzica is the typical folk dance of the Salento region of Puglia. Early in the day, the wife of one of the papier-mâché artists had explained to us the historical significance of the dance, which was invented by women to show their desire to be free from the oppression of a strict and patriarchal culture. It was performed as a means to vent the madness caused by this oppression. So we could maybe call it an ancient Me Too movement. As we ate the food we prepared, then watched and also danced along, generous amounts of Negroamaro flowed into our glasses and veins. For dinner, we drank Cantina San Donaci Antiquaia Brindisi Negroamaro DOP, basically the same blend as the rosé, but a red wine with delicious prune and cherry fruit, good acidity, and nice structure. It was a day to remember for sure. And you know, Sue, you're so great for sharing this story with us, but you also shared a video of the pizzica dance. So that's cool. We have a link to your Via del Vino Instagram with the dancers. That's very awesome. Love, love, love the story.
That is a great story. And from the Florence of the South to the Florence of the North, the original Florence, we have Caterina. And you may remember Caterina from Grapevine Adventures, who also lives in Florence, Italy. And she does some video live streaming. So you can find her at the Grapevine Adventures live streams. But she sent us a story, and we just got it just in time for this recording. But I love this story. It's so cute. So her Negroamaro story, she says, "So I've been drinking Negroamaro before, but I never really had much of an opinion about other than that it is a native grape and a wine from Puglia. Sometimes I found it a bit tart, acid, or bitter." Again, like Val's soul. "When I went to Puglia last year, invited for the Radici del Sud event, I got full immersion into Negroamaro, Primitivo, Nero di Troia wines, and much more." And those are other grapes. We've talked about Primitivo on the show before. Nero di Troia is also another grape that's native to Puglia, or autochthonous. "We learned at a vertical tasting of Nero IGP Salento Rosso from Conti Zecca that Negroamaro often has high acidity and a bit nervous tannins, and that it, therefore, fits better as a blend. Here it is, blended with Cabernet. This all helped me for the last 2 days when I was part of the jury tasting through some of the more than 100 of wines. We were a fun group in our jury group with a mix of journalists and one producer enologist. I was sitting between two fun guys, an Italian-British guy and the owner of Apollonio Winery in Salento. We started tasting through the wines, and in the beginning, I felt a bit intimidated and shy, thinking, OMG, they will surely notice I am not experienced as them, LOL. So I was looking to the guys next to me for support, and the Apollonio guy being quite hot, too. He will surely never hear this, LOL. What
But
do you
he
mean?
will.
Yes,
Wait
he
a
will.
second.
Hey,
He will.
Hey, Apollonio guy, you need to hear this because Caterina thinks you're hot. Okay? So make sure he listens. We're going to hunt him down. So anyway, while I was tasting through, I did not know how many Negroamaro wines and other wines. I started with knocking one of my glasses over so the wine poured over his placemat and tablecloth. And then I wanted to empty the little spittoon each of us had a while later, of course missing the large spittoon. So again, a part of the wine landed over his placemat with his glasses. And on like that it went. He tried relentlessly to dry it up with his napkins, but at a certain point he turned and smiled at me and said, "I am not sure if I dare remain seated here, or if I should go and take a seat at the other side of the table." I looked at him embarrassed, but we both burst out laughing. So when I needed to write an article about Puglia for the Italian FWT group, and that is on Twitter, hashtag Italian FWT, I asked if he could send me some wines, and he sent 2 cases, and he produces some darn good Negroamaro wines. For example, this Apollonio Devoto Riserva wine, and we will go ahead and link that Facebook photo that she included with that. That is an adorable story, Caterino. And hey, Apollonio guy, we're going to hunt you down so you can listen to this podcast because apparently you're hot.
And you need this direct link, I think.
Absolutely. So what a great story. I love this new segment, Story Time, Tasty Tales. But let's get into the shout outs because we got a lot of shout out going on today too.
Yeah, we have an exciting announcement. Our first Reserva Superiore supporter is Robin Sauls of Girls Gone Grape, and you may remember her from episode 106. Robin is the founder and president of Girls Gone Grape, Inc. She is a passionate entrepreneur, publisher, author, event planner, and wine lover who's bringing women, wine, and adventures together to inspire creativity, connection, and support. Women inspiring women. She's sipping her way through life, creating La Dolce Vita, a beautiful life on her terms, wine, food, family, friends, and adventures. She's sharing her passions through Girls Gone Grape events, which also includes travel, trips, and the Girls Gone Grape Sip on Life magazine, and her book, Girls Gone Grape, the 5 varietals of girlfriends you need in your wine pack.
That's another fist raised right there. Living life on your terms, sipping your way through life the way you want to live it, which is why we're sitting behind the microphone sipping on life right now. And Robin, we are so excited that you are joining our Patreon pack as well. And we're also excited that so many of the listeners dig what Robin is doing over there at the Triple G and have reached out to her. So we are shouting out to you for getting involved and to Robin for becoming part of our Patreon pack. Welcome to the team, Robin, and Girls Gone Grape, the Triple G. And now it's time for Patreon love. So thank you again to our patrons who support us on our crowdfunding platform called Patreon. Of course, our new Reserva Superiore supporter, Robin Sauls from Girls Gone Grape. And our tenacious taster, Jeff E. from the award-winning We Like Drinking podcast, Lynn from Savor the Harvest blog, Sebastian from Sassy Italy Tours, Jen in Maryland, David and Lisa in Illinois, and Anne-Marie in Virginia.
And it's not 5 o'clock and we don't care listeners. Meg in South Dakota, Clay in Arizona, John, Andrew, and Aswani in California, Chantal in Ontario, Mary Lou in Pennsylvania, Kathy in Georgia, Chris, Janet, and Diane in Colorado, Steve and Renee in Illinois, Kathy in Tennessee, Ashley in North Carolina, Sean in Ohio, and our Tastemaker listeners, David in Scotland, Carol in Kentucky, and Karen in California. You can go to our Patreon page for the details, patreon.com/wine25podcast. And in those details, you will also find that you are going to be entered into a monthly drawing. If you are at the $2 a month level or higher, you will get exclusive Patreon-only content. And depending on what level you're at, you will get some fun Wine25 swag.
And we're here for you every single week between episodes. You can obviously find us in the social spaces at Wine25. We encourage you to join our private Facebook group called the Wine to5 Community. I'm Val, and you can connect with me on Twitter at WineGalUnboxed, and unboxed I am. I'm also on the Vino with Val Facebook page, Instagram, and on Pinterest every once in a while. But Steph is everywhere, and she is the wine heroine, and you can find her in all the social spaces. So until next week, everybody, cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Wine to 5 podcast. Be sure to check us out at Facebook/WineTWO5 and tune in next week for more fun and useful sip tips.